on a young terms. One of the things that drives me crazy is how the mainstream media refuse to pick up things that are obvious. So before the elections, the Republicans run ads about how they're going to help the middle class and how Obama's let the economy down, and they're looking out for the average guy, et cetera. And then after the election is over, right after the election is over, they do a big switcheroo and they say, we're kidding, we meant tax cuts for corporations. And the media just doesn't pick it up, like, oh, okay, yeah, of course, they all ran on corporate tax cuts. They did? I must have missed it. I was covering it every day. We looked at all these different ads. I never saw an ad for corporate tax cuts. So now, listen to what's happening, right? The Hill reports, after the sweeping GOP victory on Tuesday, the business lobby is hoping Congress will extend dozens of expired tax breaks before a Republican Senate is even sworn in. Before they even come in, they're like, the lobbies are like, yummy for my tummy. Dozens of tax breaks, none of which they ran on, okay? Well, let's see if it's going to happen. Come the new year, lobbyists are already hearing from GOP leaders in both chambers that they'll have a better shot at getting a wide range of priorities to President Obama's desk, including an authorization of the Keystone XL oil pipeline, a repeal of the medical device tax, and some crucial trade policies. Are you kidding me? Who ran on the medical device tax? Show me one ad from one Republican in the country. So if I am elected to office on the first day, I promise the lobbyists, I mean you, that I will take care of the medical device tax. So before the elections, they pretend they're all about you. Right after the elections, the day after the elections, they turn around like, oh, Keystone XL pipeline, corporations, you can ring that up. Medical device tax, ring that up. Trade pacts that corporations have written that favor them and even actually take away American sovereignty and say that corporations don't have to listen to our regulations, to our food safety, our et cetera. Ring that up. They didn't run on that. Did they say, hey, the Republicans, did they run ads? If you elect us to office, from day one, we will give every break to corporations, including tax cuts, and that is our number one priority. No, they never ran that ad. They lied to you. See, the job of the press is to point that out. Instead, they go, oh, I'm neutral. I don't. Democrats say this, Republicans say this. I mean, before they were saying they were for you, now they're saying for corporations, but I can't point that out. That would be unneutral of me. You're supposed to point out the truth, the reality, the facts. Here it is. They didn't say it before the election. Here it is. Okay, more. Many businesses pay taxes through the individual system, making reform there crucial for groups like the National Federation of Independent Business. Now, whoa, did you catch that? It's not just corporate tax cuts they want. That's almost a guarantee. President Obama already agrees to that, right? Now that they've conveniently gotten rid of the Senate Democrats, no problem, they're going to get that done. In that quote, they were talking about individual taxes. Well, a lot of the businesses are run by businessmen, and businessmen pay taxes. So if you're going to do real corporate tax cuts, you're going to have to cut taxes on the rich as well. Did you vote for that? Is that what you voted for? I'm sure they ran ads about that, right? Similarly, Republicans have long been critics of the Dodd-Frank financial reform law. Oh, yeah. So there you go. Loosen regulations on Wall Street. Let Wall Street run amok. They put that in their ads, didn't they? We're pro-Wall Street. Republicans, the minute we get into office, we're going to start making sure that the advantages go right back to Wall Street. Weird that they didn't run those ads. Okay. Now, for other groups, the dethroning of Democratic Senate also gives them even more of a shield against more progressive initiatives, at least on the federal level. The International Franchise Association, for instance, has fought hard against minimum wage increases, which did well on state ballots on Tuesday. I love that one, because that's the exact opposite of what the voters voted for. In 4 of the reddest states in the country, they voted to increase the minimum wage. On the national level, they're like, great, mandate to reduce the minimum wage. To not increase it, as President Obama claimed he wanted to do, that's gone. They're not going to do that, okay? And so they haven't increased it since 2009. They're not going to increase it. But even the voters of Alaska, Arkansas, Nebraska said increase the minimum wage. Nope, we heard keep it exactly where it is or maybe even decrease it. Democracy, such a wonderful thing. All right. McConnell and House GOP leaders have insisted they'll seek changes to the health care law. That's to be expected, potentially through the budget process known as reconciliation. Now, I included that because they did run on repealing Obamacare. Look, if they were talking about Obamacare, I get it. They ran on that, right? If they're talking about immigration. They ran on that. That would be fair. You like it, you don't like it, that's a different issue, but they ran on that, right? But the reason I included that part is, you remember reconciliation? when they wanted to pass Obamacare through reconciliation, the Republicans were like, no, that is the most terrible thing you could do. It destroys democracy. I can't believe the Democrats are going to do this. Day one, they're like, oh yeah, of course we're going to do reconciliation. Filibusters, we're not going to allow any Democratic filibusters. No, we're immediately going to use any tactic by any means necessary to do exactly what the corporations paid us to do. One more, in case you weren't clear enough. And this one is actually from a Republican himself, NRSC Chairman Jerry Moran. He's the guy whose job it was to elect Republicans to the Senate. I think the country's economy, people's jobs, significantly demand that tax reform. So apparently we demanded it. Well, that's interesting, Jerry, because you didn't run any ads about corporate tax cuts. Hey, if you did, send them right over to the Young Turks. We'll take a look. We'll issue a correction. So you understand they lied to you through and through. Their priorities were not what they said they were. Their real priorities are, how do we help our donors, the giant multinational corporations? They gave us the money to buy the ads that tricked you in the first place. And on top of that, you think the press is going to report on it? No. They're just going to pretend that we were honest about this and these were our obvious priorities all along. And then that was what was in our ads and that was what was in our promises to you. Establishment media, they're such good lapdogs. Good boy CNN. Good boy all of you guys. No, don't tell the Americans the truth. This is how it works. That's what you got to look forward to. I could be wrong, though. If you find the Republican ads talking about corporate tax cuts and the medical tax device, please send them to us at TYT-network.com. And if you see CNN and the others saying, hey, you know what, the Republicans might have tricked you on their priorities, oh, please send that in. I can't wait to give them credit, okay? I'm definitely not going to hold my breath. Okay, that would be a dangerous thing to do. All right, so now let's switch it up. So that's the real priorities. Now let's talk about the crazies, okay? Now these guys are not as important, but gives you a state of play in America, right? How insanely right-wing we've got. So let me explain. In the 2014 elections, we did a wonderful job of electing a lot of different Republicans who are challenged. Challenged on the science, on the facts, on reality. But I'll let you make up your own mind. I'll give you their quotes and what they've said, and then you decide. Now, I'm just going to talk about a couple of people who were recently elected. Joni Ernst, of course, is now a United States Senator from Iowa. Now, what does she believe? She believes in Agenda 21 from the United Nations. Now, we know about Agenda 21 because another U.S. Senator, Ted Cruz, also believes this is a significant problem. He wrote on his website is that it's the plan of the United Nations to force us into hobbit homes. I didn't know hobbit homes existed in the real world, but apparently they do. This is the kind of lunatic conspiracy theories that U.S. senators now believe in. Okay, so Right Wing Watch explains, Senator-elect Joni Ernst, a Republican of Iowa, shares their fears. Last year, Ernst predicted that Agenda 21 agents may start moving people off their agricultural land and consolidating them into city centers and telling them that you don't have property rights anymore. These are all the things that the UN is behind, and it's bad for the United States, bad for families here in the state of Iowa. Now, Agenda 21 was a non-binding resolution passed by the United Nations several decades ago. What are they waiting for? If they have these incredibly powerful UN agents who are going to strip us away from our homes, like did you say agents may start moving people off their agricultural land? Like, really, they're going to come in, oh, yeah, here we go. Okay, everybody in Iowa, let's go. This is Project 21. They're going to come in the black copters, they'll land with black outfits, and they're going to move you into hobbit homes. Cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. She's a U.S. Senator. Congratulations, Iowa. Really well played. Why haven't they done it yet? What? Oh, because brave people like Joni Ernst are stopping them. Where are they? Where's the Agenda 21 agents? Are they all sleeper cells? Maybe they're coming across the border like ISIS is and Ebola is. Okay. Groups like, now we go to the Representative Tom Cotton. He's Cotton, who's now the new senator from Arkansas. Groups like the Islamic State, here we go, so back to them now, collaborate with drug cartels in Mexico, of course they do, who have clearly shown that they're willing to expand outside the drug trade into human trafficking and potentially even terrorism. They could infiltrate our defenseless border and attack us right here in places like Arkansas. The only question is, who's going to get to Arkansas first, the UN agents or ISIS? Look, ISIS is a dangerous entity. They're knocking on the door of Baghdad, and that is amazing. They're not knocking on the door of Little Rock. Okay, more madness. Now we go to Jody Heiss. Now this guy's a character. Now he's a U.S. congressman. God help us all. This guy believes and has literally said that Muslims should not have First Amendment rights. So all Americans should be treated the same except Muslims, and they should be stripped of some of their rights. Maybe we could put a badge on them too, see who they are. I mean, they don't have as many rights as us, right? So maybe we should put a sticker or star or something on them to make sure. He's a U.S. congressman. He also believes that there's a gay manifesto to seduce our boys in high schools and in locker rooms and et cetera. It was a joke that was put on the, that was written back in 1987. He believes it's true, okay? And then he said this. Jody Heiss, a Georgia Republican who just won a seat in the U.S. House, for example, told listeners on his talk radio show that the appearance of blood moons have preceded world-changing, shaking-type events. Ooh, the guys who don't believe in science would like to investigate the science behind blood moons. Here's his direct quote. I certainly am aware of the fact that every time there have been blood moons like this, there have been major events that have followed. Full-blown lunatic. We have a U.S. congressman right now that's looking up at the moon like, is it a blood moon? Ooh, I wonder what the gays will do. Will they seduce me under a blood moon? Oh, or will the ISIS attack? Or will it be Agenda 21 that comes after the blood moon? Now we go to Representative Ryan Zinke. He's from Montana. That's going to start fairly normal. He says, it's time to stop the lies. Oh, good, this guy's for the truth. Great. We're going to see what the truth is in a second. Let's talk about the truth, he says. Who trusts the U.S. government? No one in this room. I've served in 25 nations. I've seen where people don't trust their government. We're there. In the military, the last option is to send in the SEALs. I don't know what he's... who's he going to send in the SEALs against? I don't understand what he's saying. Is it ISIS? Is it Ebola? Okay, hold though. Zinke said he wants to restore truth, grace, and honor and decency, which he called our moral compass. It's always been Judeo-Christian. Now, look, this is standard variety crazy at this point, right? We've been through this a lot. In the old days, if somebody said they wanted to combine state and religion, they would have been run out of town. That was not a legitimate opinion to have. Nowadays, they pretend that Thomas Jefferson, who said, in no way is this nation a Christian nation, was actually in favor of putting the Bible into our government. Okay, but that's standard crazy at this point, unfortunately. Here's where he takes it over the top. We need to focus on the real enemy, he said, referring to former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton, whom he called the Antichrist. Okay, hey, congratulations, Hillary. Obama has just passed the mantle on to you. He used to be the Antichrist. Now you're the Antichrist. Wonderful. U.S. congressmen and senators looking at blood moons, trying to figure out who the Antichrist is, figuring out if they're going to put us in the Hobbit homes if we're going to get attacked by ISIS, or UN agents because of Project 21 or the X-Files or whatever they believe in. This is the new America. We've literally gone so far right, I can't recognize the country anymore. If you said in the 1980s, even 1990s, people like this, they would have said, okay, yeah, I mean, I guess there's crazy people in any country. There's a village idiots, people wandering around. I mean, come on. But they're not in power. Well, they are now. If you thought Michelle Bachmann was bad, wait till you get a load of these guys. Okay. Now, we move on to the critical issue of will Republicans compromise? Okay. Now, I know what happened after President Obama won in 2012. Now, an argument could have been made that there was a mandate, right? But all of the pundits, certainly the Fox News guys, said no mandate. No mandate at all. Okay, when he won clearly and decisively. Remember Charles Krauthammer on Fox News here.
I think the real story here is that Obama won, but he's got no mandate. He won by going very small, very negative, and we are left as a country exactly where we started, but a little.
Okay, so very small, very negative, kind of like what the Republicans did. That means no mandate. I'm very clear on that. Well, let's go to the politicians. Let's ask Rand Paul. This is after 2012.
It's not a mandate. I mean, he wins by a couple of points. And really, some of it I think we haven't really completely finished the discussion on. For example, are rich people paying their fair share? Well, they're paying about half of their income. What's enough?
Okay, definitely no mandate. After Democrats win, there's never a mandate. But now, Republicans and conservatives saying that's normal, right? How about David Axelrod, top advisor to the president? Here's what he said, not after 2014, after 2012, when his president won. Watch.
On this issue of particularly the fiscal cliff, one thing, presidents always say, well, I had a mandate. That's a foolish word, and it's generally untrue.
No. When you win, you wouldn't want a mandate. No, of course not. I'm sure the Republicans will return the favor. We'll get to them in a second. But let's go to the president himself. I mean, after his victory, you would think that he would want some sort of mandate to push through his progressive priorities, right? Let's find out.
With respect to the issue of mandate, I've got one mandate. I've got a mandate to help middle-class families and families that are working hard to try to get in the middle class. That's my mandate. That's my mandate. I don't presume that because I won an election that everybody suddenly agrees with me on everything. I'm more than familiar with all the literature about presidential overreach in second terms. We are very cautious about that.
Cautious. We don't want to presume that anybody agreed with me because they voted for me and made me president of the United States of America. I wouldn't want to overreach. Well, on the issue of compromise, President Obama, after you win decisively against Mitt Romney, now, are you going to pursue your policies or immediately begin to compromise with Republicans?
Today I'm meeting with CEOs of some of America's largest companies to make these decisions in a balanced and responsible way. I'm open to compromise and I'm open to new ideas. I want to hear ideas from everybody. So I recognize that we're going to have to compromise. I just want to emphasize, I am open to new ideas. Democrats and Republicans, we're both going to hold hands, and that's precisely what I intend to do. I don't expect the Republicans simply to adopt my budget. That's not realistic. I'm not going to just slam the door in their face. Look, I think there's no doubt that I can always do better. I don't exempt myself from needing to do some self-reflection and see if I can improve our working relationship.
He wins, and then he's like, I got to do some self-reflection. Here's the self-reflection I would have done. I won. I'd like to now do my priorities. No, compromise, no mandate. I literally said he'd like to hold hands. But look, guys, I gave you that as background because obviously the Republicans are now going to do likewise now that they won in 2014. They still have the House and they captured the Senate. So let's go to Rush Limbaugh and find out what kind of compromise he'd like to do with Obama and whether he thinks there's a mandate for Republicans.
The Republican Party now has one of the most important and unquestionable mandates a political party has ever had at its junction with American history. And it is the biggest and perhaps the most important mandate a political party has had in the recent era. And it is very simple what that mandate is. It is to stop Barack Obama. It is to stop the Democrat Party. There is no other reason why Republicans were elected yesterday. Republicans were not elected to govern. The Republican Party was not elected to fix a broken system and make it work. The Republican Party was not elected to compromise. The Republican Party was not elected to sit down and work together with the Democrats. Yesterday's result cannot in any way mean that voters want Republicans to work with Democrats.
Gee, I wonder if there was a contrast I couldn't quite tell. My favorite part is we were not elected to govern. I thought that was actually the job description. No. Our job is to do nothing but fight against Obama. Okay, now you're saying, look, that's a big blowhard talk show host. That's not necessary. But wait a minute. The Fox News guys were the ones saying that Obama did not have a mandate. If Democrats win, it's not a mandate. Well, look, let's be fair. Let's go to a Fox News guy. Let's go to Sean Hannity and see if he's going to say the same thing. No, Republicans don't have a mandate and they should compromise with Obama. Just like they said after 2012. Let's see.
Well, McConnell also promised cooperation and compromise, and if he thinks that that's why the Republicans gave them back power, then I think he's misreading the election. And I think this is an opportunity for them to put bills on the president's desk and to educate the American people about how energy independence is important, how not spending more money than you take in is important, an alternative to Obamacare is important, securing the borders is important. And I think that they ought to take every one of those bills and lay it out right on the president's desk and dare him to veto it.
Yeah. If you thought compromise was the point of the selection, you misread the election. You take all of your priorities, like helping the oil companies. That's what this election was about, right? And you educate the American people about it, and you make Obama sign all those things. Okay, well, let's go to the writers here. Red State writer Leon Wolf. Maybe he's going to strike a more conciliatory note. And at the end, I'll give you the head of the Republicans, the head of the Republican Party, and we'll see what he has to say. Leon Wolf says, my hope is that Republicans reject this patent nonsense for the poppycock that it is, referring to compromise. Not only should Republicans not work closely with Democrats, they should instead keep them as far away as possible, preferably across a large moat filled with sharp stakes, acid, and alligators. That way our side will be safer from friendly fire when we launch the flaming tar at the remaining Democrats in office. I'm glad the Democrats reached out to Republicans and conservatives because they have obviously want to do the same exact thing after they win. They're so magnanimous in victory. I'm not done with Leon yet. One more. Not only should they not be worked with, they should not even be invited to the table to be part of the discussion, lest their gangrenous, festering, and destructive ideas should further infect our caucus. Such a brilliant idea that when you won, to have not done anything with it and tried instead to compromise with these guys who like to put acid and alligators between you two. Okay, but wait a minute. Now, these are all writers and columns. Let's go to Reince Priebus. I mean, he's the head of the Republican Party. I'm sure he's going to strike a much more conciliatory note after the election, just like Axelrod and Obama did after 2012.
The question is, are Republicans going to pass something? Are they going to compromise with the president, or is he going to use executive action?
I don't believe a thing he says. So, I mean, he's been talking about immigration reform for 7 years. So, I mean, you're using his words as if they actually mean something. I mean, and asking me to respond to it. He's been talking about this when he had 60 votes in the Senate and Nancy Pelosi in the House, and he didn't do a darn thing. And all he's been doing for the last year is lying to Hispanic voters.
So you just called the president a liar there. But remember when Obama said Mitch McConnell's a liar right after he won? Or Axelrod said, no, wait, but I just showed you the tapes. I don't think they said that. Okay, wait, hold. Gets better.
You just came out here and said you don't believe a thing the president says, and you use the word lying specifically to talk to him.
Not on immigration. No, because that's what he's doing. Not on immigration. He's using
I'm just saying it's not a tone.
For politics.
You're not putting forth a tone that is, all right, let's do a fresh start and work together. That's all I'm saying.
He has screwed up even his own priorities on this issue by mishandling the politics on this from the very beginning. So now to come back and say, after the American people repudiated the policies of Barack Obama and everyone that was connected to him, to now say, well, what are you guys going to do to compromise with the person that the American people had just repudiated? I think it's a little bizarre.
Bizarre to even consider compromise with the president. He has been thoroughly repudiated. They obviously have a mandate to do whatever they want. See, this is the state of politics in America. Totally uneven playing field. Where Democrats, even when they win, they bow their heads and they go, oh my God, I just talked to all the CEOs. Remember, that's the first thing Obama said. I just talked to all the CEOs and they told me what to do, right? And they told me that I got to go compromise with Republicans and I can't wait to reach out to them. When the Republicans win, they go, yeah, we plan to reach out to the president with this, the back of our hand, right? It's all a game, man. It's all a game. So it's not like every Democrat in the country who's an elected politician is stupid and weak by nature, that all Democrats are born this way. Of course not. They're human beings. There's incredibly strong progressives. They have been throughout American history. There are today, right? No, the CEOs are the ones that fund the weak Democrats who get all the money from the donors, from the rich donors and corporations, to bow their heads and say, yes, Republicans, which tax cuts would you like? And they also fund really strong Republicans to come in and say, we will break your back, okay? And you will give us exactly what we want. And what do we want? As the Republicans have immediately said the day after the election, corporate tax cuts, corporate trade deals, Keystone XL pipeline, more for the oil companies. That's how we get all the benefits going to the rich and the multinational corporations and none coming to us, with these incredibly weak Democrats who have been funded to be weak, and the out-of-control Republicans who have been funded to push this political state in America all the way to the right. And as you see, no matter who wins, in the end, you get the same result. Giant win for corporations and nothing for the rest of us. Young Turks. That was a segment from hour one of the show.
Now for the better hour, the second hour.
Drums. You can get the whole show on TYTnetwork.com. I disagree with you, Anna. Anna was saying during the break that this is terrible music. No. First of all, this is white people's music. Okay, so you should enjoy it more. Second of all, it's similar to the music created by one of the people in our rundown, unfortunately, ACDC.
Yes.
Okay. Third of all, I actually rather enjoyed that.
Really?
I'm not into like heavy rock or anything like that, or whatever we call it, heavy metal.
It made me angry.
Yeah.
No, but I'm
You see what I'm saying?
You guys want me more angry than I was yesterday?
Okay, never mind. Okay, bring it down. Bring it down here. I like a couple of tweets here that are just like random, okay, having nothing to do with the policies or anything we're discussing. Rethinking Capitalism, which sounds like it's going to have a very substantive tweet, says, "What's up, Cenk? Hey, Rethinking Capitalism, how are you?" That's it. What's up, Cenk? Okay.
Nice.
And then, you got to do hashtag TYT Live in order for it to get to us so we can read it. And then Mugatu writes, "I finally get home in time to watch hashtag TYT Live and can't think of anything clever to tweet at Cenk. Hashtag sucks to be me." Yeah, apparently not. I read it.
These tweets are really killing it today.
Yeah, wow.
You guys are really on one.
Murder Incorporated. About the Alabama making sure that there's no Sharia law in that state, Emily Vandermillen says, "I'm sure all 7 of Alabama's Muslims are devastated."
Yeah.
Ray for Madness does have a substantive one. The GOP sweep of the midterms is a good example of what Chris Hedges calls crisis cults. The worse it gets, the more extreme. See, that leads to an interesting point, which we haven't discussed enough, I think, about the elections, which is Republicans purposely fuck things up, and then when things get really bad, especially under a Democratic president, right? They throw every monkey wrench there is into the system, and then they go, goddamn Obama.
Yep.
And people fall for it every time. So then they come out in the midterm elections, go, I don't know, things are really fucked up. Who's the president? Obama? Okay, let's vote against them. They vote for Republicans. So...
That's why there is I'm sorry to interrupt you. There is a silver lining to Republicans taking over Congress. I mean, you think things are bad now. They're about to get real bad, right? And so I guess that's good news for whoever is going to win the Democratic ticket. But at the same time, it's a lot of the same crap that we deal with. It doesn't matter if it's Democrat or Republican.
But they'll just blame it on Obama.
Yeah.
But they will. They'll say, you see, the Democrats were in charge for 8 years and look at what happened. It's so frustrating.
I know, but I think when we see the types of things that Republicans are about to do in Congress, people are going to realize that Obama's not necessarily
We've been waiting for people to realize how full of shit Republicans are for, 20 years?
Yeah, but I think part of the reason why Obama won was not because of his platform, but because people were so sick and tired of the Republican Party.
Well, that part is true.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I hope you're right. Last one. ST Transylvanian says, could you imagine if Republicans were as good at actually governing as they are at buying elections? Actually, it's a good and interesting point, but it's a little off. They actually are very good at governing. They're just not good at governing for you because they don't represent you. They're very good at governing for their donors. Tax cuts, to no end, wars to no end for the defense contractors. I mean, the oil companies get $14 billion a year in subsidies, more than any alternative energy by a mile. So if you're the oil companies who purchased the Republican Party, they couldn't be better at governing. So think about it that way. All right, we got a lot of interesting stories for you guys. Let's do it.
Yep. We start off with some good news. 2 police officers in New York City are facing charges after a video surfaced of them using excessive force on a teenage boy, a 16-year-old by the name of Kareem Tribble. Apparently, it all started on a sidewalk where the cops wanted to stop him because they believed he had marijuana. And then apparently there was a very, very short chase where Kareem tried to get away. But then look at what happened after that. Take a look at the video. All right, so the cops try to stop him.
Puts his hands up right there. Boom. So it should be over. No, let's just keep punching him. All right, one more for good measure. But they're not done yelling at him, hitting him a little bit. One of the guys used his gun as well to hit him.
One of the cops did use his gun to hit the 16-year-old in his face. Okay, and as a result, according to reports, the officers broke some of Tribble's teeth and left him bruised and bloodied. Now, the officers are David Afanador and also Tyraine Isaac. And so what's great is finally, we have New York City police officers who are going to deal with criminal charges for their behavior. Let me tell you what those charges are. One of them is charged with second-degree assault, a felony, and a misdemeanor weapons offense. Isaac is charged with third-degree assault, a misdemeanor. Both officers have been charged with official misconduct, also a misdemeanor. Now, one of them has been suspended with no pay, which, doesn't usually happen. Usually they're suspended with pay, which is annoying. And then another one of them is not suspended, however, he is given a modified job. So I'm guessing desk duty or something similar to that. However, here's a really interesting thing. The last time city police officers were prosecuted for brutality was in 2008, and that's according to the New York Daily News, when 3 officers were charged with forcing a baton into a man's anus during an arrest. A jury acquitted the officers. It's amazing.
Right? Like, what part of that is part of legal police procedure when you rape a guy, a suspect, with a plunger?
Yeah.
Okay. Unbelievable. So, look, the good news here is that there's a different result in terms of how the government is reacting, right? So the bad news, obviously, is the kid gets, assaulted viciously by the cops. As they're doing it, you know what they remind me of? A gang.
Yeah.
It felt like gang members, like, beating somebody down, and they kept, like, threatening him, like, are you going to get up? Are you going to do anything? Let me hit you again. Come on. Give me an opportunity to hit you again.
Yeah.
And they didn't give him an opportunity, but they hit him again anyway, right?
Yeah.
But for a change, the government reacts by saying, hey, you know what? That looks like an assault. Even if cops did it, maybe we should do something about it. New day. I don't know about New Day in America, but at least New Day in New York City.
I think that the surveillance that everyday Americans are doing on police officials and all of the exposure, the negative exposure that police officers have been getting in the last year has really led to government officials cracking down on this type of behavior. And look, they haven't cracked down enough. Don't get me wrong. This is just one instance, right? But attitudes are changing. They can't get away with this stuff anymore. When videos like that surface, I mean, how do you defend it? It's indefensible.
Well, they find a way to do it oftentimes anyway. This is the beginning. Let's hope it continues.
Yeah.
But the other thing that this tells you is that elections matter. Bill de Blasio promised that it would be a new day in New York City when he ran for mayor, and he said that he was going to get the police under control and that they had been abusive towards the community. The community is who votes in a democracy, right? I know we forget sometimes. But again, at the local level, it worked. Bill de Blasio won by an overwhelming margin. He brings in Bill Bratton, and all of a sudden, there is a little bit of change.
A little bit of change. By the way, if you can remember the story we did on the man who died as a result of being placed in a chokehold by the NYPD, those cops haven't been charged with anything yet, which is kind of amazing. They had put him in a chokehold because he was selling cigarettes that were untaxed, and they had a problem with it. The victim's name was Eric Gardner. He died as a result of that chokehold. Cops haven't been charged with that yet.
Grand jury is considering whether to indict them, though. So, no, I mean, that's how the process works. It's taken a long time, but we'll see how it goes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Fair enough. All right. A 33-year-old by the name of David Kalick has been arrested in Oregon after he turned himself in for murdering his own girlfriend in Washington. Now, apparently this is incredible, he strangled her to death in their home, and then he posted 3 photos of her dead body on an online forum called 4chan. Now, after he did that, he was very, very honest about how he murdered her. He uploaded the 3 pictures, and he basically told everyone, I'm probably going to get caught, but I want all of you to see these pictures and know who I am. And then, of course, authorities started looking for him. Her car was missing, so he actually murdered her and then took her car. But after reports came out about this, he did turn himself into the cops. Kalick has been charged with second-degree murder in the slaying of Amber Lynn Coplin, 30, in Port Orchard, Washington. He was transported to Portland, where he is being held on $2 million bail. Also, Kalick has a criminal history in Washington State and Virginia that includes convictions for assault, burglary, and DUI.
I don't get it. Like, I understand that there are people who are stupid and they like put pictures of them with the bank robbery money on Facebook to brag. We've done those stories, right? Or they'll go on Instagram and be like, hey, this is the shit I stole from you, and then they'll get busted. What was this guy doing? Did he feel guilty about it, or was he bragging?
It seems like my reading of it indicates that he did not feel sorry about it. I don't know why he shared it on 4chan. I don't know if he felt as though people would be supportive of his actions. I have no idea what his intentions were. But I do know that this guy is beyond criminal. He is a creep in every definition possible, right? So to give you an example, not only did he strangle her to death, he also indicated that, oh, just watch out. He was texting one of his friends. He told one of his friends, like, hey, you know what? Her 13-year-old son is going to come home from school soon and discover her dead body. So he somehow got some sort of pleasure out of that. He took her identification card and put dead on it and placed it next to her. And it seemed as though he was not remorseful. He claimed that she killed him first. Yeah. I don't know how that's the case.
Oh, but because I'm sure she broke his heart. And so
they were living together. They had gotten into an argument the night before.
Yeah. And so the manly thing to do, of course, when your feelings get hurt is to murder someone. So that's what he did. He wrote on the blinds too, bad news. Well, yeah. We got that. She's already dead. You're right to point out the 13-year-old, Anna, because it makes it slightly more inhuman.
Yeah. That
you think like, oh, the 13-year-old is going to discover his dead mother. Anyway, have a good day. I'll see you later.
So the 13-year-old did discover his mother, and at first he thought she was just taking a nap on the couch, and then she was unresponsive, and he panicked and called her estranged husband.
His dad.
Or ex-husband, I should say. And then he alerted the authorities, and they said she's been dead for a while.
Right, her face was bashed in, etc. So I do want to say one other thing. You know, oftentimes with stuff like this, they'll say he's the 4chan killer. There was a Craigslist killer. No one actually killed anyone on Craigslist. No one killed anyone on 4chan. He didn't do the murder on 4chan. He did it in a house, and then he happened to post the pictures on 4chan. He could have posted them anywhere. That's just where he posted it. Okay, yeah. So all the headlines talk about 4chan. Maybe our headline will talk about 4chan. It's like, you know, yeah. But understand that it really has nothing to do with 4chan.
The part of the story that gets 4chan involved is the fact that he felt the need to post it on that forum. But that doesn't mean that that community had anything to do with the murder or any type of guilt. But nonetheless, it is kind of strange that he thought, hey, this is a good idea. Let me show everyone what I did. Here are pictures of my murdered girlfriend. It's weird, to say the least.
Agreed.
Okay, moving on. More murder, or possible murder. ACDC's drummer Phil Rudd is being investigated and has actually been charged in allegedly arranging 2 killings and drug possession. So apparently he wanted to hire a hitman to kill 2 people. He failed in doing so. Those are the only details we know. Authorities refuse to release any other facts about this, but he is charged with attempting to procure murder, and that carries a maximum prison term of 10 years. Authorities also caught him with methamphetamine and marijuana.
When I saw the story, I thought, oh, hell's bells.
That's why you want to do the story, so you can make these cheesy jokes?
Then I wondered if he had done those dirty deeds dirt cheap. It appears certainly that he's on a highway to hell. And he might soon be back in black and white, you know.
Do you listen to ACDC?
I took all the songs from the end of the article. No, when I was younger, of course I listened to ACDC. They were ACDC, you know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So we all are. Look, I'm not an I never wore the ACDC shirt and smoked cigarettes outside my high school.
Yeah.
Okay. But yeah, I like some of their songs. I didn't know they were going to turn into murderers.
So, what, like, it always fascinates me when people want to kill others, right? Like, because I can't, like, there are people that I hate, right?
Yeah.
Especially,
Sure.
Like people on Twitter.
Yeah.
Would I consider hiring someone to murder them, considering how much I despise those people? Maybe. No, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. Yeah. No, of course I wouldn't. Like, I can't imagine risking my entire life, right, to murder someone.
I mean, he's rich. He lives in a nice house. I saw the
He's
cop standing in front of the house.
next year.
Yeah, well, perhaps not. Right?
Yeah, well, not anymore.
So, why risk your whole life to do this? And by the way, if you go to find someone to kill whoever you're trying to kill, there's an excellent chance that you found a cop. Mm-hmm. Like, that's the others. You knucklehead. How do you know?
Where does one go to find a hitman?
I don't know.
And
Luckily, I have no idea.
How do you know you're not communicating with the cop? That's an amazing point. That's so true. I wouldn't know where to go.
Almost every story of someone procuring a hitman procured an FBI agent. Now, in this case, it's New Zealand, so some other government official, because they're on the lookout for that. So you're the easiest person in the world to catch.
Can we also talk about the fact that the maximum jail sentence is 10 years behind bars?
I know. I thought that was a little low, too. But that's because we live in America where everything is so draconian. We're like...
It's like, you got caught with a joint? Oh, my God, 25 years behind bars.
Like, yeah, guys are literally serving life sentences for smoking marijuana in America. This guy's like, well, I was planning to murder you. Well, let's think about maybe 10 years.
It's amazing.
Right. Maybe he'll be back out in time to tour. Now, by the way, if a rapper had done this, gangster rap, thug culture, it's right? It's ACDC. Well, I mean, what a weird isolated incident. Okay, when white people do it, it's isolated incident. When black people do it, it's thug culture.
Yeah, I mean, there is a double standard. I saw this meme today that was really interesting. It was two pictures with headline articles accompanying them. And one of them was a white woman at her graduation with her baby, breastfeeding her, right? And the headline was, adorable graduation moment with whatever. And then the picture underneath it was a black woman who's doing the exact same thing at her graduation. And the headline was, black woman breastfeeding during graduation stirs controversy. And there's a double standard. There's a huge double standard when it comes to a lot of these things. It's amazing.
I know. Hell's bells. I went back there. There was no need for it. It didn't really help.
You nailed it with this story. Congratulations. All right, let's go to Mexico. Tens of thousands are protesting in Mexico City after 43 students went missing, and it seems as though officials there have done little to nothing to actually find them. Now, a lot of it might have to do with government corruption, and a lot of it might have to do with local authorities being corrupted by cartels. Now, prosecutors say that the students were later handed over to a drug gang, some of whose members have claimed to have killed the youth. But despite a widespread search, authorities have been unable to find any sign of the students. The Mexican government also estimates 22,322 people have disappeared since the start of the country's drug war in late 2006, which is amazing. And also keep in mind that tens of thousands of other people have died as a result of the drug war beginning in 2006.
This drug war in Mexico has been an epic debacle. It's over 70,000 dead at this point. Can you imagine 22,000 people disappear? Nobody ever hears from them again. While they were looking for these kids, they found mass graves. They just can't tell whose mass graves they are. That's how bad it is. I mean, that sounds like ISIS, right? I mean, here it is, Mexico, right next door to us. We pushed them into the drug war. It was Bush who told Calderon, oh, you got to get tough on drugs. And Calderon was like, great, yeah, let's get tough. And then that led to gang war on top of gang war. It led to the gangs becoming even more vicious over something that should be legal in the first place, that has not been legalized in 4 different states in America, but yet people are still, kidnapping 43 kids. God knows what happens to them. We don't know if they're in the mass grave or if they're just kidnapped. It appears that the mayor and his wife and the police chief were all working with the drug gangs.
Cartels, yes.
And they're the one, and the kids are.
We're going to protest the former mayor of this area. It's Iguala. So this is where all the kidnappings happened. This is where the crooked mayor was and where the crooked mayor's wife was. And these students apparently went to a very liberal, very radical school, and they were planning on protesting the mayor. So then what a coinkydink. All of a sudden, 43 students get kidnapped and they disappear. And so it isn't that far-fetched to think or believe that the authorities kidnapped them and handed them over to cartels. And look, it's been a while since this happened, so I don't know where they've been. They were kidnapped September 26th.
And by the way, in case you're thinking, well, I mean, look, is that really fair to the mayor? Do we really know if he was involved? Normally, they wouldn't pay much attention to it. People disappear, unfortunately, in Mexico all the time because of the drug wars. But it's 43 people at the same time, so it was a big deal. And now roads are being blocked. The parents are going crazy. There's a lot of attention paid to it. As soon as the attention was paid, mayor, gone. He ran, literally ran out of town with his wife. They found him in an abandoned apartment somewhere else, hiding out. So, gee, I wonder if he was involved. I can't quite tell. The police chief is also on the run. He's the guy that might have literally, physically handed over the kids to the drug gangs.
Let's take the power away from the cartels. It's the easiest thing. I don't know why this is so difficult. I mean, all of this stuff, all of the corruption, all of the murders, all the disappearances, like it just would not happen if you took the power away from the cartels. You do it by legalizing drugs and making sure that people can get it from a different source, a legal source, so they don't have to rely on gangsters. I mean, it's common sense. I don't understand why we can't get it through our heads.
It always comes back to the money. And so if they don't have the money or they're not motivated by the money, then there's no point in kidnapping and killing 43 college students, right? So we're enabling them by allowing them to make a tremendous profit off of something that we're going to buy anyway. We've always bought and we will continue to buy. So why not just legalize it so you can get rid of this enormous violence associated with keeping it illegal? It's happened before. Prohibition led to terrible gangs in America. It's now led to terrible gangs in America and Mexico in this prohibition. Yeah. Let's stop being so damn stupid and end it already.
All right, a little more international news for you.
All right, I'm ready.
And then we'll take a break. All right. Government officials in Iran claim that they don't have any issues with gay people in their country. But it's a curious thing for them to say, especially considering the fact that A, there are gay people in their country, and B, the way Iran likes to deal with it is by coercing gay individuals to have sex change operations. Now, this is really fascinating because they reject the idea of homosexuality. In fact, if you are caught in gay acts, you could be murdered in Iran. However, they do accept that if you want to date or marry or be with someone of the same sex, you could be having a gender identity crisis, and maybe you should go through with a sex change operation. Really interesting, and they're really pushing people to do this. Now, according to the BBC, which did a really great report on this, they say that it's not official government policy to force gay men or women to undergo gender reassignment, but the pressure can be intense. In the 1980s, the founder of the Islamic Republic, Ayatollah Khomeini, issued a fatwa allowing gender reassignment surgery, apparently after being moved by a meeting with a woman who said she was trapped in a man's body. Let's just stop there for a second. Isn't that amazing right there, where you have like this religious leader who all of a sudden just has a conversation with someone, and he's moved by that conversation to the point where he's open-minded about gender reassignment surgery.
And then it affects Iran for decades after that, based on that one conversation. Well, I mean, look, the funny thing is they're more open to transgender folks, but less open to gays, and then it winds up being negative because of that. But I mean, there's so many layers to this. First of all, I like how these fatwas are just pulled out of somebody's ass, right? Like, oh, the Quran, and he studied, he's the Ayatollah, and the Hadiths, and all this stuff. It's like, no, I just talked to somebody. She seemed like they had a good story. Forget it. Quran's totally okay with transgenders.
It's amazing. It's amazing.
Okay.
But what I also want to understand, Jing, sorry to interrupt you, is why is there an understanding toward the transgender community, which, by the way, I'm in favor of, like, oh, well, they were born this way, they feel trapped in the wrong body, but you don't extend that same type of empathy or understanding to the gay community. You just think that they chose to live that type of lifestyle.
It makes no sense at all. But look, again, these people don't operate on logic. They operate on voodoo from thousands of years ago. And Khomeini and the current Ayatollah Khamenei, it's money, it's power, it's all those things that drive them. They just, you know what he reminds me of, funny enough? Pat Robertson. Pat Robertson is also totally fine with transgender people, but he doesn't like gays. He thinks gays caused like Hurricane Katrina and 9/11, etc. But transgender is A-okay. I don't know what it is about religious people who like, but you know what's interesting too? In Turkey, when I was growing up, like people weren't open to gay. It was old school, right? It was back in the day, just like America wasn't open to it. But there was a number of transgender singers and entertainers, and the guys loved them.
Really?
And they'd go. I was amazed as a kid. I was amazed. I was in a town that she came into, us like a summer town, and all the guys wanted to get a kiss from her.
What?
I don't know what it is about transgender. I think they're into it.
That's fascinating.
Yeah, can I like psychoanalyze? It's a fear. It's a threat. You know, especially our conservatives here. Those gays, they're gonna come and sneak up behind me. All they do is want to fucking grab your ass. So it's a fear because they're thinking about it all the time. What are they gonna do? But if we just change them to a woman, then it's okay. I can fuck her.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
I want to fuck her.
Yes, that's their. It's in a weird, twisted way their reparative therapy. Instead of trying to change them mentally, they're changing them physically.
Right.
So they match whatever norm they believe in.
I think you and JR are making slightly separate points, but I think they're both good. I think you're right, and I think what JR is saying is part of the reason they want to change them is because they actually want to have sex with them.
Yeah, well, that too.
Right? And it makes it okay. Oh, now they're a woman, so it's fine.
That's interesting. Yeah. That's interesting. We make good points on this show. Okay.
Yes, we do.
Well, I have some more for you. So here's one person who's had to deal with this in Iran, and here's what he has to say. They show you how easy it can be. They promise to give you legal documents, and even before the surgery, permission to walk in the street wearing whatever you like. They promise to give you a loan to pay for the surgery. So they're serious about it. If you're gay, we want you to get gender reassignment surgery. Now, here is a testimony from one person who had to also deal with this. He says, my father came to visit me in Tehran with two relatives. They had a meeting to decide what to do about me. They told me, quote, you need to either have your gender changed or we will kill you and will not let you live in this family. Now, he was so desperate that he actually fled to Turkey. And then once you're in Turkey, you still deal with some discrimination if you're gay. So a lot of people will seek asylum in countries like Canada, and oftentimes they do get the asylum. So I'm sure some of you are wondering, what are the numbers? How often or how common is this in Iran? It's really, really difficult to get hard numbers on this because it's not something that's really studied. However, according to government figures, the numbers have risen from 170 in 2006 to 370 in 2010. But one doctor from an Iranian hospital told the BBC that he alone carries out more than 200 such operations every year. Now, let's be clear about something. That doesn't mean that all 200 operations include gay people who have been coerced to get a gender reassignment surgery. Some of those people might have genuinely wanted one. But nonetheless, that number is pretty high for one doctor.
So this is, of course, terrible because most people, gay people, are not transgender. So they're like, well, I don't want to be a girl. I'm just happen to be a gay guy. Mm-hmm. So why are you forcing me in this direction and making me change my whole body, which I'm perfectly comfortable with and don't want to change in the first place? And it's such a bizarre twist that they're like, okay, no, gay is terrible, but if you keep going, it gets better. Like if we make it, I mean, it's like, I guess in America we have this idea, like we have this conception that is also not true, that transgender is more extreme than gay. Mm-hmm. You see what I'm saying? Because you're actually taking so much...
You're changing your physical appearance completely. Yeah.
You're taking so much action, etc. Now, it's just that it's not more extreme. It's just that's how you happen to be born, and gay people happen to be born this way, straight people this way. It's all the same in reality, right? It just requires more effort. But in their spectrum, in Iran, with these crazy religious people, not all Iranians, by the way, just the current government, they're like, well, if you go all the way, it makes sense. But if you stop in the middle, no, it's no good.
Yeah. It's crazy. But that's what you have to deal with when people are ignorant. when they don't understand things and they spread hate as a result of that.
Yeah, the depth of it is amazing.
Yeah.
And how open and accepting they are of transgender people is amazing. And look, one last thing. Isn't it also fascinating how much one man can make a difference?
Yeah.
So now in this case, Ayatollah Khomeini has made a difference in a terrible way for a lot of this. And perhaps the Iranian Revolution would have happened, etc., but with a different Ayatollah if it wasn't Khomeini. It's entirely possible, and of course, it's an impossible thing to determine how much is it the man and how much is it the time and the context of history, right? But that guy made a series of decisions, this just happens to be one of them, that wound up affecting millions of people. There's over 70 million people in Iran for what now, how many years? 40 years, right? In that ballpark?
Yeah.
And they all got to live with this, and now all the gay people in Iran have to deal with being pushed into transgender, let alone all the other things that Khomeini decided. So one man could make a big difference, both for good and for bad. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but it is what it is.
Yeah. Well, we'll let you guys think about it during our break. And when we come back, some fun stories for you guys.
Go.
What's up? I'm Anna Kasparian, and you might wonder, what the hell is the point? Well, think of it as a news show with a twist. It's like a game of truth or dare, except we focus solely on the truth and ask our panelists some pretty interesting questions. Have you guys ever cheated or been cheated on? Have you had a near-death experience? Have you spent money on something that you knew was wrong? What would you do in the last week of your life? Each week I'm joined by some of the smartest and most honest people around.
The worst person to run the country would be a person who wants to run the country.
Women are left out of conversations daily, especially in politics.
We love to delve deeper into the topics and have a good point to make about each story. Make your point. Make your point. Make your point.
The legal team at VH1 could not have done a better job at covering their own asses while getting their contestants to show theirs.
The best part about the show is that we're not afraid to share personal stories, regardless of how scandalous or controversial they might be. Give them a vibrator. Okay, yes. They'll be very, very happy.
When I was 13, I stole a car.
Damn! I don't know, officer. What was I doing?
Bro, no.
Bananas.
Blew my mind amazing.
Look, don't marry that crazy bitch. You know, keep away from her.
Honestly, we let our guard down and we tell it like it is. Can't be that bad.
I think I'm going to get some backlash for this, but I'm going to be honest.
You're not supposed to cry after sex. And that was humiliating. And in fact, I feel like I'm blushing right now.
You kind of are. It's amazing. I would be livid if someone was messing with my dog. All right, you better stay the away from Penguin.
If a hobbit decided to take a job as a longshoreman, I have his hand.
I'm also single. Ladies, this is progress, America. This is progress. I love it. Thanks so much for watching, and never be afraid to make your point.